Hello and welcome back to Lead the Standard. Today we are unpacking a truly life-changing concept, the secret to building real confidence. It is a cycle, not a gift. Now, this episode is all about uncovering the confidence growth cycle and learning how preparation, action, and reflection work together to create a foundation for genuine confidence. So, if you're struggling with self doubt or wondering how to take that next step in your career or your personal life, today's conversation is for you. I'm Kelly Taylor. As always, I'm joined by Jackie Stapleton, who is here to guide us through the core elements of this cycle, including her personal journey and obviously those lessons she's learned along the way, from the power of preparation to the courage it takes to take action and the wisdom gained from those learning opportunities and the adjustments. So, this episode, as always, is packed with insights to help you grow. But before we start, good morning, Jackie.
Hello there.
Lovely to have you.
Thank
Um,
you.
let's dive right in because I do really love this topic this week. And I did want to acknowledge and mention the fact how you have fantastically been able to connect this week's episode to last week's episode, both available in the show notes and via LinkedIn, about being stuck on that hamster wheel of endless do's and rediscovering your purpose and all of that New Year blur. So I think a lot of people on the back of that will have been suffering a little bit of internal confidence crisis or a little bit of uncertainty in that
Mm.
space. So if anyone hasn't read them yet, I definitely encourage you to check those out after this episode. Jackie, as someone who has coached endless professionals through building their confidence, what inspired you to write this topic, or explore this topic this week and create the confidence growth cycle?
Um, I I will share a story, but I've just thought it was interesting how you said it's clever. I don't know how I connected last week's and this week's, but funny story. It was actually around the other way initially. So I'd actually written the LTS, the newsletter. I think it was the end of last year around confidence, and then of course when I came back in the new year, I started writing about the hamster wheel because that's how I was feeling. Then I realized, hold on, these two need to swap around. And much to the disgust of Hazel, our lovely
Good girl.
marketing lady, because you were still on holidays, Kelly. So I couldn't ask you. I had to go straight to Hazel and say, can we swap these around? Because it would make far more sense. So I'm glad it seems like it makes sense to you to
Yeah.
have this one follow the hamster wheel. Because I suppose you asked what prompted me, because I always come up with these ideas based on personal experiences, stories, and so on. But and you would also get this comment or statement from students
Mm.
and you know the students that we talk to every day, every week. And even once they've done their training, got their certificate, they may also have endless amounts of experience, but the one thing that keeps coming up is they say, but I still don't feel confident. Like, how do I get that? I know I've learnt this, I've got this knowledge, but I still don't feel confident. So it's a very common statement that we hear. I'm sure you've heard it as well, as I
Mm.
mentioned. And it sort of is something that isn't just for people newly entering the ISO world. I have it, you know, I have it when I'm pushing boundaries and starting something new that I may not have done before, or it's never been done before. And then you start sort of questioning, okay, am I really equipped to do this?
Yeah.
You start questioning yourself. And I suppose thinking about that, because it is a common question that comes up. That's why I thought, okay, what's the solution? And I always share how I'm an over preparer, and I am still an over preparer when it comes to new things. Okay, so when I first started doing classroom training a long time ago, I was trying to figure out, it's over a decade. I would spend hours sitting at my desk talking to myself, going through the course content, blah, 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 blah. And then and then I'd practice delivering the workshops. And, I just, for my brain and for me to feel confident, I needed to get that right and feel comfortable, I guess. So and during that time, like while I was presenting the training to myself, I'd write notes, and there was something new every time. So it's something that I developed and realized that I do initially as part of my confidence building. Is this over preparation. And actually, while I'm thinking of it, I'm going to look to the side. I'm going to grab something. There's a quote that I put close by that I do remember that I've used previously, and it says, confidence is earned, not given. You earn it through your preparation, effort, and mindset. And when I came across that quote, I think it was, over 12 months ago, I thought, oh my goodness, like that word preparation is in that quote. And I've always thought, oh, Jackie, what are you doing all this for? Like, this is ridiculous. You're not, 5. Why are you over preparing? But it is preparation helps with our confidence. It helps with feeling comfortable with these new challenges that we're exposed to. So that's why I developed this process, because there's a couple of other areas in there, which I'll give you the short answer for shortly. Because I thought, well, there's more than just preparation. It's what you do with it.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll get into my short answer because I like getting into that. So I thought, after, I suppose, experiencing my own confidence challenges and coaching and training others through theirs as well, I identified 3 core elements that work together to build that, I suppose, genuine confidence. It's the confidence growth cycle, which we'll break down shortly. The first area is preparation, and preparation is our foundation. It's about building that solid base that helps you feel ready to tackle what's ahead. So for me, this showed up in my over preparation of training. I also create detailed audit packs that help me to feel prepared and confident. So for you, it might look something different, but the key is doing what helps you feel more secure whenever you're coming up with new challenges. The second area is action. So action is where you actually start doing something with it. So at some point, you've got to take that step forward, even if you don't feel completely ready, even if you've over prepared. It's about actually doing the thing that you've prepared for. So, whether it's delivering a presentation or a classroom training like me, or an audit, having a difficult conversation, light bulbs going off there, or starting a new role. Okay, at some point you actually have to take action, use that preparation. And then finally, the third area is learn and adjust. So this actually might be my favorite part, because it's sort of where our continual growth happens. It's about taking each experience through the application of our preparation, whether it went really well or it didn't go quite as planned. We use it and we learn from it to improve. So the idea here is that no experience, no action that we take, and whatever the outcome is, is wasted because we're going to learn something from it. So each time you go through this cycle of preparation, action, and then learn and adjust, you're building your confidence even more each time. Can you relate to that, Kelly?
Yeah, I'm just reading, full disclosure, our run sheet show notes, and there's a comment on here that in that last section, which I agree is probably my favorite because there's so much in there. I don't love preparation, but I have to do it. It's
Yes.
not my strength. I'm a little bit backwards in that this learn and adjust is probably more where my strength and interests and passion lies. But there's a note here you have in our show notes that says each time you go through this cycle, you're building your confidence muscle a little bit stronger. And as you were starting to read through right at the beginning or talk through the preparation, action, everything, straight away, I was thinking an analogy because that's where my head goes. You go ISO, I go sport. And straight away, I was thinking, like, you don't get to the Olympics unless you're particular people, without significant preparation and training.
Absolutely.
And you don't get an Oscar without rehearsal. And then you put all of that into action and then you go and reflect. So I really love that analogy for those of us who aren't necessarily quality gurus, quality nerds. But yeah, I straight away, as soon as you're talking about this growth cycle, you don't have to be a physical athlete, an Olympian to follow it, but think about their philosophies and how they get to where they are and apply those to your everyday life.
So true. Absolutely. Yeah. I never sort of drawn that parallel before, but yeah, as an athlete, yeah, you don't, well, and even say you and I have both hiked Kokoda.
Yeah.
We didn't just turn up one day.
No, that would have been interesting.
It
felt like it, even after 6
well, even
months of
after
training.
preparation. Yeah. So, both of us had a lot of preparation, physical preparation. And here's this learn and adjust, because I do remember you coming over to my place and sharing what you had learnt with me and my two friends that also did it, and like showing us how to strap our feet, what worked, what didn't. So, that's all preparation.
Mm.
And, really it you sharing your experience prevented us from making the same mistakes. Although I wish I would have packed more lollies.
There's a few things that we do there. Like, we're going off tangent, but there's in that learn and adjust, you realize there are things that you can't prepare for. Like when I got there, yeah, I was physically prepared, but I've got a family and other connections to Kokoda, and I wasn't prepared for the mental or the
Oh, yeah.
emotional
The
impact.
emotional
Yeah,
is
people will
massive.
tell you, but until you're there, you don't realize it. So I think we'll get into it obviously a little bit more as we talk along, but preparation isn't the be all and end all, but you still need to be aware that you need to prepare, but be mindful that there are going to be things that you can't prepare for, and you will learn and you will adjust. It's not the end of the world.
Yes.
It's part of, as we said, your next preparation. So
Yes. And I think I'll cover that in Learn and
yeah.
Adjust, because I have had some things that just didn't go to plan. And how I got through that. So, okay, awesome. So let's explain and go through each of those three sections in a little bit more detail if you think we haven't already. So the first section of the confidence growth cycle is preparation. Okay. And as I said, preparation is the foundation. This is what I started with in my head. So I'll explain a little bit more about that preparation. So I always think, like, when you're starting something new, and some people get, I don't know, they feel physically sick. I know that's me. I remember my first classroom training that I was delivering. Oh, and Kelly, you were the same.
Mine too.
Yeah. I felt like I wanted to be sick, vomit. I'll just, it was not, even though I'd prepared. So it's a very common thing. And as Kelly said, she experienced that as well. So this is where preparation does become your best friend. So when putting training aside, it's also happened with me when I was starting to conduct certification audits. I felt I'd come from just conducting internal audits, so I felt a little bit out of my depth. So I created something that I call my audit pack, and it's something I don't have. Oh, it's just really a pack. Okay, like it looks like this, and it's got all of the documentation I need in there. I'm old school. Some of it still needs to be physical for me. It's like a security blanket. That's what it is. You know how as little kids they like security blankets and it makes them feel comfortable, or sometimes it's a pacifier. So that's what it is. I know that if I've got this in my work bag, I've got everything at my fingertips. So initially, when I created this, because I actually have a checklist as well, which we actually share on our website, the checklist that I use and follow to prepare for my audit. So we might put that in the show notes also. Was it over the top initially? Probably, but at that point in time, it supported me. So over time, this audit pack has become lighter. I do things differently because I am more confident. But it is what it is. It was what it was at the time, and we create it to support our needs. Okay, so I think what I'm trying to explain is that our preparation might look different. Okay, so Kelly, you said before that you don't think that you're a preparation person. I might disagree, but it's probably because your preparation might look a little bit different to my preparation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I was trying to.
No, that's all right, because I could see your mouth going.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting audio bite. So yeah, for me, I do prepare. You're right, but I don't find it. And look, this might be the same for everyone. It might be different. For me, preparation doesn't come naturally. I don't necessarily rehearse. I will disclose. I often have conversations with other people in my head while I'm having a shower and rehearse the conversations. Then when they go off script in real life, it's really, really that's really distressing. No, but for me, I am a simple checklist person like you. I do have an old school, for those watching at home, I've got an old school diary here that is yes, I have my calendar, but these are my priorities for today, or this is happening on this day, you need to remember that. We do rehearsals for our webinars, for our virtual training. We do virtual training 5 times a year, and the week before, without fail, Jackie and I jump on and go, okay, this is what we learned from last time and the changes that we made. Let's have a quick practice of what that looks like. So I think for me, I'm a preparation in action kind of person rather than a let's pull all of this stuff together and do. But
that makes sense, Kelly, because the next one's action.
Well, yes. And I just want to highlight I don't necessarily start at the preparation phase. I think a lot of where I sit is that learn and adjust. And I'll share when we get there how I use that in my preparation.
Okay. That'll be interesting. Okay. And that's why when I created that infographic, it is sort of it's a continual process. It's not, you must start here.
That's one thing I know. There is no starting point on this cycle.
Yeah. And I guess I just chose, well, no, I'll take that back. I do say this is a foundation. However, even if you come from the learn and adjust side, it still is the foundation, maybe in a different context.
You might be thrown in the deep end and not have a chance to prepare something. So you jump
Mhm.
straight into action and then you
Yeah.
learn and prepare. So yeah, any of these starting points.
Yeah.
Any of
Okay.
these, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next
Right.
potential
So the
point.
second section of the confidence growth cycle is action. So this is often the scariest part. Like, it gives me heart palpitations thinking about it. But this is also where a lot of your confidence grows, because once you've done it, it's like, oh, I I actually did it and I rocked it. I did really well. But you can't grow your confidence unless you take that action. It's like, say, buying a treadmill or signing up for a gym. So
Mm,
just buying the treadmill or signing up for the gym doesn't help you to move your body and get healthier and fitter through movement, unless you actually go there, or you actually step on the treadmill. So this is what action is. So um, I know I'll share something with you, and I know I have shared with you already that the first time I did classroom training, I felt physically sick, but I did it.
mm.
I did it. I took action. I got through it, and as I always do, as soon as I'm up in front of a crowd, I'm fine, but it's like the getting there that holds me back. And even now, like as Kelly said, we conduct virtual training 5 times a year, and we don't do so much classroom training anymore, but there's still that little bit of anxiety or nervousness beforehand, because even though I know the content back to front and have delivered it thousands of times, you don't know the audience. You don't
Yeah.
know the questions you're going to get. You don't know how crowd control is going to going to pan out. So you still sort of start, even though you're coming into it with a higher level of confidence, there's still that unknown that you'll never be prepared for. Okay, and that's where we'll loop that into the final one into learn and adjust. So it's something that you'll come across at each point, and then in this action point, it's like, it's just take those little steps, take the next step, take the next step. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And as you're saying that, we're going to come back to a Kokoda analogy. We trained as much as we could, and you get there, and I've never seen hills or mud as deep as I did on those 10 days and those 90 Ks. But
Hmm.
in your head is just one more step, next step, next step, to the point that our group that I was trekking with, we did separate a little bit. We all went at our own pace because you if you've done Kokoda, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, there's you'll figure it out one day. But if you take that one step and you stop and wait, you're stopping there for a while you get all of your porters and trying
Yeah.
to lift you out of that mud to take that next step. So you've just got to keep taking that next step, one step at a time. And it becomes a little bit of a mantra when you're talking to yourself, just
It
that next
is.
step, just that
It
next step.
is.
Okay, one more. And 1 foot before it's like 1, 2, 1. Anyway.
It
But
is. I remember taking a photo of my feet and my porter's feet in front of me, because that is the focus.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. There are sections there that I couldn't tell you what was on the side because I was so, where is the next step going to be? You're
Yeah.
so focused on it. But that applies too in the classroom. So as you said, I too had that same experience. I unlike Jackie, was not able to hold my feelings with it and was physically sick on my first day. I had to go for day 2, and I was there and I did everything that I needed to do.
You're
Um,
bloody amazing too, Kelly.
oh, thanks. But I took that philosophy with me of, okay, well, let's just get through to morning tea. Okay, let's just get through to lunch.
Yeah.
And by the time you're doing that and you're having those conversations, rather than looking at it, oh my God, I've got a whole day of training with these people and I don't know what
Mm.
I'm doing, but I really do. But I've never done this before with this group. So that's probably, again, another mindset. I've never done this before. Well, you have, just not with this group, as you mentioned before,
Yes.
audience.
Yes.
So breaking that down into small little steps, write yourself. a mental agenda. This is what I'm doing at this point in time. And then we're going to have a break, mental break, physical break, whatever it is. But just give yourself those those checkpoints, those stop points, those rest stops along the way of whatever you're doing. And know when you get there, celebrate that win. That's your little confidence boost.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be this one big action. Break it all down into lots of little things and it will become much less overwhelming.
Yeah. One by the elephant at a time.
Yeah. It's going to take a while to eat the elephant, but
but no, that's so true. Yeah, just break it down. And I know that, when there's, say, I even do that with say a long audit, multiple day audit. Like it, I can look ahead and go, oh man, this is 5 days. How am I going to cope? But it's like one day at a time. It's okay, I've got that section done. Tick that off. It's lunchtime. Next section. And I know you'll get through it, but it's just, breaking it down makes it much easier to move through.
I want to share another analogy, and I'm not going to say their name, but they're going to know exactly who I'm talking about when they listen to this. And we have a team member who is making an incredible contribution and filling a gap that we've always had that role, but the person in that role has never been 100% dedicated to that role. So things haven't happened as quickly, and Jackie's just clicked who I'm talking about. Things haven't happened as quickly as they absolutely could, should we wanted to, because the person who was responsible for that was being pulled away. So the person who's now in that role, 100% focused and dedicated on that role, is achieving so much more than they realize, but they are saying, oh, I'm not doing well enough. I'm not contributing. And they've only touched on one little part of that process. And I think that's part of why I'm not doing what I need to do. There are multiple steps in that process. And they've only been doing that for, January, probably 2 or 3 months, maybe, with holidays.
Since November, wasn't it?
Yeah. And they've achieved so much in that amount of time.
Amazing
Amount of stuff, and pushing out an amazing amount of things. But we've kept them focusing on that one part because we don't want them to kind of get ahead and learn things that aren't relevant to the stage of that process that they're at. And then we'll train them as they go along. When we train them on anything, they pick it up, they see it, review it, improve. Incredible person. But their confidence is sitting at occasionally a quite a low point because they don't see that bigger picture of what they're contributing. So this is where I think learn and adjust is going to come in. Again, this person is taking actions and they're taking a step at a time. And I want to be very careful of going too far ahead, but it might be that perfect segue in that as this person is doing those things, they're starting to find opportunities, see, okay, I'm learning something that the previous person didn't know. And then, I'm creating this. As they start to see and speak to other people, they start to realize how much, what's the word I'm after? How much their contribution, that's not what I was wanting to say, but it's where I'm going, how much their contribution is making, how much of an impact and a positive impact they're making. But because they had their own expectation of where they should be, what they should know, and how quickly they should pick up this thing, their confidence was lowered.
Yeah.
So we've told them many a time how much we value and how much of a contribution they are making. But again, it's because they haven't had that opportunity to do that whole process and see a finished product just yet. So I think when we are looking at this, whether you're preparation, action, learn and adjust, wherever you are in that cycle, know that this action might not be the whole action. And then
Yeah, it continues. It's that one step and then go back around. Yeah.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
as you're explaining that, that sort of reminded me of something else as well. And this is something that we also should do, is we should have some self-reflection on what we have actually achieved. Like actually, well, I don't want to spoil
We
another episode, but you talked about this initially, and I do the same thing.
yeah.
When I read a report that I've written or an email that I wrote from years ago, I'm thinking, who wrote that? That's really good. And I thought, oh, that was me. Oh, okay. And I know you shared that recently as well with something.
Yeah.
Were you listening?
Yeah. Spotify threw me my own voice in the car randomly, which was really weird. But yeah, I was like, that sounds familiar. And then I realized it was this podcast. But I was getting some really good insights from myself. And I'm like, oh, I really should listen to my own advice. Um,
That's
but
right.
but we do this, and actually, now that you mention it, this person isn't here on a Friday when we do this with the rest of the team. So we do have a little bit of a self-reflection in our weekly report we do through Slack, through Geekbot. We have a little check-in. This person, now that you mention that, doesn't have that. They're not here on Friday. They don't get that particular
Oh.
report that says, what is one thing you really want to celebrate this week? Looking back, what did you really succeed in? So there's Kelly's job for today, is to readjust their check-in. But yeah, self-reflection. And again, that leads
Yeah,
straight into learn and adjust. So let's jump in
absolutely.
there, Jackie, because I think once we've talked about that, we can kind of bring it all back in together a little bit.
Okay. Okay. So the third section and the final section, but as we know, it can continue. So the third section of the confidence growth cycle is learn and adjust. So this is where the gold is. Okay. Every single experience, especially the ones that may not go as planned, they're an opportunity for us to grow and learn. Okay, be curious, that growth mindset. So we sort of mentioned this like a confidence muscle before. So it's like training that confidence muscle. So it's not always going to go as planned, and when it doesn't, it gives an opportunity for that confidence muscle to grow again. There's an opportunity to learn. So I I remember a training session many years ago where actually nothing went as planned. I actually just remembered another one as well in Darwin where we lost power on, I think, day 3 or day 4 of a 5-day training. It's in Darwin, so you could not do it inside even. No, it was way too hot. So, you had to come up with, okay, how do I do this? What needs to change? But the initial one I was thinking of was actually in Townsville. Funny that, because both hot climates. So basically nothing had turned up, no course material, nothing. Students turned up,
That's good.
yeah, but I had no course material. So of course I actually remember standing up in front of the classroom because I had to start the training,
Mm.
but the experience was horrific because I was delivering the training, but in my brain I was thinking, what do I have to do? And so I was thinking ahead because I had nobody there to help me or make phone calls or anything. I just plowed ahead. So it helped me to think outside the square. Like I got to certain points of the training on day 1. The issue was solved on day 2. Thankfully, everything arrived. But it was like, okay, this is what normally happens here. I don't have that material. What can I do? What can I do? So there's that learn and adjust that. So even though, it scared the living daylights out of me, and my brain unfortunately was not fully focused because I had to try and think ahead. And then I knew what was coming up. Then I was trying to figure out how am I going to do it. Everyone survived. The world didn't end. I'm pretty sure we still got really good feedback on that training. So, and it demonstrates that things don't always go to plan, but there's an opportunity to learn from that. And sometimes we have to learn as we go. Okay. Yeah, things do not go to plan. It's a great opportunity. Learn and adjust. And then that loops back to your preparation and action. Learn and adjust, preparation and action.
Yeah. I think you said, I think we got our good feedback on that training. I actually think you probably would have got, I feel you would have got exceptional feedback from that, because you demonstrated your knowledge of the topic. You showed that you were able to learn and adapt. You didn't let those students down. They came for training. They got training. It might not have been the way that it was, but you would have learned to from that and become a better trainer, because you had to think outside of the box. So I can't do this the typical way. Let me do something different. And you might have found a different, better, more engaging, more fun way to do things. So I've said this before and I'll say it again. When stuff hits the fan, like when you clean it all off, everything's shiny and new, and you'll find things that you might not have seen before. So I think, yeah, I'm a big advocate for when stuff goes wrong, it's for a reason, and it's to help you see something a bit different. I'm very much a cliche of that these days.
I don't like it when it happens when you sort of live or anything. Like I start, it's quite panicky then. I need time to process.
Yes. Perfect example. When something is live and things go wrong and Jackie gets panicky. If anybody was attending, and look, it's out there, so we know, anyone was attending our original webinar a couple of weeks ago, we had a major technological issue. The people that were there were aware of that. We reset. They were very accommodating. So thank you to everyone who joined us at that webinar. What they didn't realize was that we had that major technological issue on 2 or 3 occasions during the reset. I knew, Jackie knew, and my co-producer Matt knew.
Blah.
None of our team knew, except for maybe one person, because she had prepared the slides. She knew what Jackie was saying wasn't quite how she was expecting.
Because I couldn't see the slide.
She couldn't see the slide. She couldn't see anything. We could see. She could see the questions. And we found different ways in the background to manage things. We've got another one coming up tomorrow. I will reassure everyone who is attending the podcast, the webinar tomorrow.
Isn't it today?
Platform. Tried it. Oh, today. Oh my gosh. Prepare, Kelly, prepare. We have a new, like, we're going back to our old school platform, tried, true, tested. We know that that's going to work. But a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about this as a team, and I put the question to the team, because Jackie was having a very open to the team, I am feeling very vulnerable, anxious. I'm not okay with this. This isn't working. And I said to the team, did Jackie suck at that? Because that's what Jackie kept saying. I sucked. It was awful. The only people that knew during the recording that something had gone wrong was myself, Matt, and the person who had prepared the slides. All of our team, who know Jackie very well, who were in attendance, none of them picked up that things had gone wrong. But Jackie had learned, and she'd prepared, she'd adjusted, and now we've all learned from that experience. But this is what I was going back to with that team member before, and Jackie, and I wasn't talking about Jackie, in that your confidence level could be right down here, but your output level could be exceeding everybody else's expectation. If you don't ask for feedback, and please make sure when you're asking for feedback, we've had this episode before, it's solicit, like, ask. Don't listen to anyone who gives it to you without asking if they can give it to you. Don't ask it of anybody who's got no idea what they're talking about in that space. But seek feedback on your performance, your action, what went well, what didn't go well. And I'm sure that will be the confidence boost that you need. I did listen to a podcast the other day, and surprisingly, this guy is a university lecturer. He was giving a lecture on whatever it was in front of an entire auditorium on the West End in London. And at the end of it, he got a standing ovation. And he saw out the corner of his eye one woman grimaced and she just sat down. She didn't stand up like the rest of them. He got home and his wife, who was in attendance, and a couple of his colleagues were waiting for him with celebratory drinks. And they said, "How do you feel? How'd you go?" And he goes, "Oh, it was terrible. This woman was sitting there and had her arms folded, didn't like, she was awful." And they all said, "You got a standing ovation." Like, that woman might have been having a bad day. She might have got bad news, whatever. Seek feedback on what you've done, how you've prepared, from the right people, the relevant people, and that will help further boost your confidence, help you grow. And I just,
that's actually a really good point. It's got to be the right people.
Yeah, you've talked about asking your other half for feedback. I've asked mine. Our sons, they're really good at giving honest feedback, not necessarily on topic, but they're good at it.
If you want to feel old, ask your adult children for feedback.
Yeah. Worse when you're asking for advice. But this learn and adjust, I said, like, those are just some other people's stories. For me, I do that. I come back, I take notes, I reflect. How can I do this better? How can I do this different? What didn't work? And that's my preparation. So that, without that experience, for me, I struggle with general preparation. I can't start at the preparation point. And I think that's where we were going before. You can start at any point. I need to have done it, seen what worked, seen what didn't work. I seek people's feedback because I want to do better. I want to give them what they need. I want to make things easier, more enjoyable. But I also want to come across confident. And I was
that's your preparation.
Exactly. But
it just looks different.
It starts at a different place. So,
that's and it's actually a really good point, Kelly, because while preparation is like a separate step or part of the cycle, it's actually embedded in all of it. So no matter how you prepare and where you start from, it's really your method of preparation.
Exactly. And I think that's why I like that there is no start point on, like,
I like
start
that.
point on this. So if you don't sit down like Jackie and pull together a checklist and all of that stuff in advance and rehearse and do all of those things, if that's not where you start, that's okay, because
absolutely,
you will find a place and a way to do that.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, will I wrap it up?
I think so. I think I'm really keen for people to leave their comments on these ones too. So.
Yeah, and what preparation looks like for them too. Because I'm just really sharing my experiences and yours as well. So we've covered the confidence growth cycle. So where I say the foundation is preparation. But it's about building that solid base. No matter what it looks like, it helps you to get ready to tackle this new thing or this new challenge. So for me, remember, it showed up as creating these audit packs, over preparing training content, verbally preparing as well. But for you, as Kelly and I've discussed, it could look completely different. Kelly's shared what it looks like for her. It doesn't matter. The key here is that you do what helps you to feel more secure and comfortable when you're faced with those new challenges. The second one is action. So believe it or not, at some point you've got to take that step. You can't keep hiding. Okay. Even if you don't feel completely ready, normally if you take that step, you'll learn new things, which actually feeds into the third section that we covered, which is learn and adjust. So as we said, we seem to keep looping back to learn and adjust a lot. And that's probably why I said it was my favorite part. because this is where that real growth happens. You can prepare, you can take action, but unless we get the feedback and learn and adjust, we're not building that confidence muscle. And remember, it's not always going to go as planned. Things could go wrong, but we're going to learn anyway. So the beauty with this is that no experience, good or bad, is going to be wasted, because you're going to learn from that. So each time you go through this cycle, you're building that confidence muscle a little stronger. So as always, Kelly, before I hand it back to you, I like closing with stay curious and always lead the standard. By staying curious and leading the standard, you'll continually find new opportunities for growth and excellence in your career.
Thanks, Jackie. That does bring us to the end of another episode of Lead the Standard. Today, obviously, we have explored the confidence growth cycle and how preparation, action, and reflection can work together to strengthen your confidence. My key takeaways for today are very similar to Jackie's. I'm really proud of us that right up until this very moment, neither of us said fake it till you make it. Because even in, like, no matter how much you prepare, if you get to that action point and you're still not 100% confident, fake it till you make it, and then learn and adjust. I think that's my thing that I've been kind of tied everything back through today. So yeah, please don't think that confidence, as you said before, Jackie, just comes naturally for everybody. We all have to go through this cycle, and at different levels. And for most of us, that cycle does never end. We always have that level of confidence questioning in whatever activity we're doing. Thank you, Jackie, again for sharing your experiences and strategies. I do hope that today has inspired our listeners to take that first step towards building their confidence, no matter where they are in that journey. Before we do wrap up, little teaser for next week, ISO Careers Uncovered. Where could you fit in? Going to be another fascinating look at the diverse opportunities within the ISO industry. So you don't want to miss that. You might find something that you were not expecting. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, to share this episode, check out our newsletters, and please do feel free to leave us a review. Take care. Until next time, keep leading the standard, and goodbye for now.
Thank you.